Hi, welcome back to the Witchy Web We Weave. I'm Alara.
Alex.
And today we're continuing our Tarot Tuesday series, and we're going to be looking at strength. Strength is a personal favorite for me for the majors. We're going to do what we normally do. We're going to look at the symbols, we're going to do the pros, we're going to do the cons, and then we're going to do an example, and we're going to go ahead and insert. Hello, boo. So, looking at strength. Strength is number 8 in the majors normally. However, I have seen it switched around with in order with different cards. Sometimes it's switched with justice. I think that's the most common swap around that I've seen in other decks. But I do really like the idea of strength as number 8 in the majors because it comes directly after Chariot, which Chariot is always Chariot is a lot about force of will and things like that, and making, pushing your way through the phases of life. Whereas I think it's a good idea that strength comes directly after that, because strength is all about, you guessed it, strength, personal strength mostly. So when we're looking at the symbology of the card, a lot of times the background is this vibrant yellow color, and on it we see an image of a maiden or a woman dressed in white, tenderly holding a lion, either petting its head or holding its mouth. Sometimes with the lion having the mouth, agape. So when we're breaking apart the symbolism of strength, the fact that the major colors in this card are all yellows and browns, with the only other really big different color is the white of the woman's gown. So we're talking about these colors indicating that this card is mostly a intellectual or a mental concept rather than anything else. It's all about mentality and the way that your mind works and the things that come with that. Although sometimes I have seen this card with the colors changed up a little bit to where it's mostly blues, different grades of blues, which would also make sense because it would then give the idea of a more emotional card and things like that, because I think that also goes along very well with this particular theme. So, with the card being a mostly intellectual one, or indicating mostly mental, the fact that the woman is in white shows the idea of innocence or spiritual purity, things like that. And the woman is often referred to as a maiden. She is supposed to be very beautiful, young, calm. Often whenever you're looking at the image of the maiden, she has this very serene look on her face, or she has this very soft, kind smile. She's looking down very lovingly almost towards the lion. So often she has this great feeling of being at peace with the situation, even though I think any normal person, if they were, wrestling with a lion, or had their hand on a lion, or had a lion with his jaws open like this towards your face, most people would react with, "Whoa!" But that's not the case. She is all calm and serene. And even whenever you're looking even closely at how she's interacting with the lion, the hands that she has on the lion are very gentle. There's no force in it. There's no gripping, or there's no harshness in the lines of her hands. It's very soft in how she's holding him. And this is all the idea of certain situations that require strength. It's a different kind of strength rather than a forceful one. It's the idea of the calm strength, or it's competency and strength with confidence and assuredness. It's almost strength through a sense of faith that everything will work out, everything is going to be okay, rather than I must strong hand it to my will and force it to do my bidding. It's a much different idea of strength, which I find very appealing. So, oftentimes when we're looking at the symbology of the strength card, there is a garland of flowers shown as a collar or a leash around the lion, either being strung between the maiden and the lion, or just simply as a collar around his throat. And this is supposed to symbolize growth, love, compassion, acceptance, things like that. Are you getting a theme here yet? And then I think one of the most notable actual symbols that you would see within the card itself is the infinity symbol that is often shown above the maiden's head. So I really do like the infinity symbol, because I feel like there is, yes, it's supposed to mean like eternity and continuance, like never-endingness, but I also like the infinity figure 8, because in my mind there's almost a duality of it. There's an up and a down, there's a flow, and it brings to mind almost like a cycle. But it's supposed to represent the idea that spirit and thoughts are infinite. That thoughts and actions have consequences. There are ups and there are downs. For every action, there's a reaction, a cause and effect type symbolism. But it's also the fact that this infinity symbol can represent the idea of past, present, and future in a very interconnected way, that your past influences your presence influences your future, that there's this direct correlation between it all, and that it's just all very interflowing and interconnected in the energy of it all. But it's the idea that your ideas and experiences of the past and your thoughts about the future are anchored in whatever is happening in the now. It's where it intersects in the center. So, one of the big reasons why I love the Strength card, and for any of you that have been watching our videos, particularly the Tarot Tuesday series, often you will see me with a necklace on, like a pendant, talisman. And I actually don't have it on me today. I have it charging. But it has the image of the Strength card on it, because this is a card that I very much identify with because of a couple of different reasons. First off, the Strength card is a direct correspondence with the zodiac sign Leo, and is heavily associated with the element of the sun. All of y'all know that I'm very deeply connected with the sun and solar energy, but it's also my mother is a Leo, and in some ways I view the tarot card very closely with some of how I view her and how I view our relationship and things like that, and that's a very personal thing. But it also, the reason why I like the Strength card so much is because in my mind, the Strength card is all about strength through adversity, overcoming fears, or overcoming negativity within yourself or within your mind, overcoming self-doubt. So for me, the Strength card is it's a card for working through mental health issues, for working through dark phases in your life and things like that. Because in a lot of ways, the lion and the Strength card to me can represent your shadow self, your negativity self, your aggression, your fears, your anger, your hate, all the things that you hate, that you don't like about yourself, all the things that you hide away, the primal side of you too. All of these things are represented in the idea of the lion within the Strength card. So when you take it in that aspect and that concept that the lion represents all of these things, all of these negative things, all these very scary things. And then you look at the way that the maiden is dealing with it. It's almost like the two halves of yourself. Like the good angel and the bad angel on your shoulders. The lion is the devil, and the maiden is the angel. And it's these two halves of these two warring, conflicting halves of humanity, the positive and the negative, that are warring and having to work with each other inside of yourself. And it's this idea that the positive can always work with the negative, that they don't have to be two separate things. You don't have to be afraid of the negative and the bad and the dark aspects of yourself. They're very much related. They're very much interconnected. They have a working relationship with each other. And which is why a lot of bad things tend to happen if someone ignores that half of themselves, because then it ends up coming out in really unfortunate ways. But it's also this idea of through the virtues of yourself, you can tame the things within yourself that you're afraid of, that you can grasp them in your hand and you can make them a part of your own inner strength. And it's an idea that your disadvantages can become your strengths, that your weaknesses can make you stronger. So in a lot of ways, for me, strength is all about the balance of good and bad, of positive and negative. But it's also about self-confidence, self-esteem, just taking control of yourself and being reassured in who you are. I hope I didn't bore you there going off on that tangent. But when we're looking at the positive readings, interpretations, aspects of this card, one of the most direct ones can be the idea of personal strength. Or it can also represent higher love, like a universal love, in a way, which is actually another one of those forms of the Greek love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a term for it, for the universal love, which is kind of how I would put that one. The positive aspect of this card can be the idea of you're finally conquering your fears, or you're finally addressing parts of yourself that you're afraid of. One of the key phrases that kind of comes to my mind whenever I think about this card is the aspect of, what is it? It's courage is not the absence of fear, but the idea that something else is more important or is greater than fear. I know it's probably an older quote, but one of the things that I know that particular quote from is Princess Diaries. Showing my nerdiness just a little. But I think that's a very big concept within this card, is the idea that it's strength and courage despite the fact, or because you're afraid. That being afraid and still doing something that you should anyway is a great virtue of strength, and why in some ways this card is very representative of a cardinal virtue for me. But this card can also indicate the need for kindness or patience in certain situations, or it can indicate the need for compassion for yourself, or it can indicate self-love, or the need to explore self-love for you. I think a major concept or theme of this card is learning to treat yourself with respect and treat yourself gently, with understanding, and treating yourself the way that you treat your friends, or treating yourself the way that you treat the people that you love. Because I know, for me personally, I don't treat myself very well. Like, I say things to myself that I would never say to anyone else. Like, I have a lot of negative self-talk. So for me, strength is a very big, I get strength a lot when I'm doing personal readings for myself, because she's constantly there reminding to treat yourself gently, to treat yourself with love. So when we're looking at negative interpretations or negative aspects of this card, this can indicate ideas of having a lack of empathy for yourself or for others around you, for certain situations, or having a lack of connection with the idea of universal humanity, or lack of having love and compassion on a universal level for anyone and everything. Sometimes it can indicate being jaded or feeling apathy in general. A reversal for strength can also indicate that you're trying to use brute force in a situation that needs a lighter touch, or that needs for you to come at it from a different angle, an angle of understanding. It can also, the negative can indicate having a conflict between your personal and your emotional self, or having self-hatred. And I think one of the key things, if you're getting the reversal or the negative of strength, is the fact that you're at a point in your life, or you're at a point within yourself where you are letting your fear control you on a grand level, where you're afraid to continue your life. Because remember, strength comes directly after the Chariot. Chariot is all about force and moving forward in life and going through the phases. So sometimes having the reversal of strength can indicate that you have crashed the Chariot, or you have forced the Chariot to stop moving when it needs to go forward, because you are too afraid of continuing, and you're too you're drowning in those fears of what could be or what might happen, and you're letting that control your life to the point where it's stunting you. So, with all that being said, when we're looking at an example of strength, one of my personal favorites for strength is it comes from the Disney movie Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
I love the interaction of Lilo and Stitch. Whenever we first meet them, you kind of see that they both have things going on, that they're wrestling with things within themselves. Lilo, because she lost her parents and she's in this situation. Stitch, because he's Stitch. But as their relationship progresses and they start to kind of get to know each other, it's kind of easy to see that before Lilo became a major part of Stitch's life, he was very much controlled by his own impulses and his rampant need for chaos and destruction and all of these tumultuous feelings. There is a particular scene within Lilo and Stitch where Stitch is kind of like going on a rampage a little bit, and Lilo kind of looks around and she grabs this ring of flowers, a lei, and she throws it over his head, and he just falls. And this has been talked about in a couple of different posts and things like this, but I do agree with people who is like, the lei is symbolic of love and friendship, and kindness. She basically defeated him with love. She conquered him with love. And I thought that was probably the most accurate and beautiful example of what strength is, what true strength is in the concept of the card.
And the flowers were white.
And the flowers were white, pure. It was innocent love. She gave him innocent and understanding compassion. And after that point, we see a major turn in the plot of the movie. Within Stitch himself, you start seeing this evolution of his character and how Lilo becomes a very powerful and positive influence in him. And by the end of the movie, he is such a different, I want to say person, because he kind of is. He kind of is like a person. But he's completely changed. He has learned calm and peace and love and understanding and respect, which he didn't really have a lot of before. And I think all of it kind of came down to a lot of, like, that particular moment. It was a turning point. And I thought that was a beautiful example of strength. And I could probably give other examples, but those examples would be very personal to me, and I don't think many people would get them, or they would have never heard of them before. So I'm not going to go into any other examples, but I want to encourage y'all to think about, what is your own definition of strength? What does strength look like to you in your own world, in your own life, in your own relationships? Do you know people in your life who you feel are a true embodiment of what strength is? And what characteristics or aspects of that person give you that feeling that they are strong, that they are a embodiment of strength? Like, because to different people, strength can mean different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's about all that I'm going to do for this particular video. I really do love the strength card, and I could probably keep talking about it and, for days at a time, but I'm not going to bore you all that much. I have a distinct feeling you can only handle so much of me at once. So I'm going to leave things there, and I will see you in 2 weeks for the next Cara Tuesday. Many blessings.